Okay, today we're going to do 12.4b, comparing populations. This is a culminating lesson where we're going to be using everything that you've done in chapter 12 prior to this, so 12.1 through 12.4. So this will be a good chance for you to demonstrate that you understood everything that you did last week. Okay, so here is how you compare populations. The first thing that you're going to have to do is determine whether or not the data is symmetric or skewed. And you learned that one in lesson 12.4. And we're all going to do it from looking at a graph. Next, you're going to find the appropriate measure of center and the appropriate measure of dispersion that best represents the data. This is basically the thing that you're going to be doing today. If it is symmetric, whenever it's symmetric, you're going to find the mean. And the measure of dispersion that goes with mean is standard deviation. If we determine that the data is skewed, we are going to use the median. And the measure of dispersion that goes with median is the interquartile range, or IQR. And then at the end, when we calculate all the calculations that we need, we're going to write two sentences to compare the measure of center and the measure of dispersion. So one sentence will be comparing the measures of center, and one will be comparing the measure of dispersion of the data. So here's our first example. The double box and whisker plot shows the number of hours that males sleep and females sleep each night. We're going to compare the population using measures of center and dispersion. First thing we have to figure out is the data symmetric or skewed? Now, box and whisker is the only one when we look at it, we actually can't tell by looking at it. The reason that we know what it is based off of how you construct a box and whisker plot, and this comes from lesson 12.3. In a box and whisker plot, we use the median. So since the median is being used, we have to use median as measure of center. We absolutely have no way of finding the mean. So for that reason, box and whisker plots always fall in the skewed category. Okay, so now we have to get the numbers that we need. So we have to find for male and for female. And in skewed data, the measure of center that we need to find is the median. And the measure of dispersion that we need to find is the interquartile range, or IQR. Again, in lesson 12.3, you learned how to find those from a box and whisker plot. So what I would like you to do is to test your knowledge. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find these four numbers for me. Okay, those are the numbers. So median, again, is going to be this middle line of the 5-number summary. And the IQR, you're going to subtract quartile 3 number minus quartile 1 number. It's the range of the box. And these are the numbers that you get. Now, to compare the populations, you have to do two sentences. The first sentence is comparing the measure of center. In this case, it's the median. So your sentence has to start off by telling your reader what you compared. So my first two words are going to be the median. And I'm going to underline the word median because that's an important word. And if we were finding the mean, we would write mean there. Now we want to have a little bit of context of what this was about. And this was about the hours of sleep they receive each night. So I'm going to write the median hours of sleep. And I like to put the bigger one first. So I would like to talk about females because they had a bigger median. So median hours of sleep of females is greater than males. Again, you would have to have that comparison word in there because that's the purpose of these problems. Our second sentence is going to be compare the measure of dispersion, which in this case was IQR. We don't have to actually name it because it's given that if you use the median, you use the IQR. So I'm going to say the hours of sleep of, and again, I'm going to use the larger one first, so I would say males. And here's the key word, it's varies. That's what dispersion measures, how varying those numbers are. More than females. And that is the correct answer for this problem. Again, I'm going to circle more than in your notes. Again, we are comparing, and I'm going to double underline the word varies because that is a word that you need to have. All right, number 2. The dot plot shows in height the inches of students in a math class. We're going to compare the populations using measure of center and measure of dispersion. So first thing we have to figure out is, are these measures symmetric or are they skewed? And if I look at this, you kind of can see this big peak here, and then it kind of goes down to the left, and it also goes down to the right, and it actually appears to be the same. I'm going to kind of draw it so you guys can see it. That is a symmetric data set. Now they both have to be symmetric in order to use mean and standard deviation. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other one. And that is symmetric as well. So both of these graphs are symmetric. Now, we have to figure out what are the measures that we're going to use. So again, first is going to be male, then female. And we are going to be finding the mean as our measure of center. It's always what you use when it's symmetric. And then the measure of dispersion that goes with mean is standard deviation. All right, what I would like you to do is to go ahead and pause the video. And I want you to find those two measures separately for the male students. Again, these are the numbers. And for the female students, again, the number line is common to both. So this first number here for male is going to be 59. And if you need help with standard deviation, that was something you did in lesson 12.2. So you can certainly look back to that. And then when you have it, you can unpause the video and I will show you the answers. Okay, so the mean for the male, when I added them up, I got 930, and there were 15 entries in the data set for a mean of 62. And then when I filled out my table for standard deviation, the sum of the x minus x prime gives me 38. So I'm going to do the square root of 38 over 15. Again, do this first before you find the square root or put it in your calculator using parentheses. You get 1.59, that's rounded to the 100th. Same thing for females. The mean was 60, 960 divided by 16. Hopefully you actually counted the females and realized there was a different number for both. Again, if you don't get the mean right, you can't get the standard deviation right. And then when you add it up, then you got 40 divided by 16, and you square root the answer, and it's 1.58. All right, so we did all that to write our sentences. Okay, our first sentence is comparing the measures of center, and we use mean. So I'm going to start off with the mean. And this problem was about heights. So I'm going to say the mean heights, Heights. And in parentheses, I'm going to write inches because that is how it was measured. And we figured out that males was higher. So I'm going to do males first. So of males, is greater than females. And our second sentence is on the measure of dispersion. So we are going to say the height of, and looking at our results, the males varied more, so we'll write males first. The heights of males varied more than females. All right, the last one we're going to do is a back-to-back stem and leaf plot, which shows the ages of people in two exercise classes. And again, we're going to compare these populations using measures of center and measure of dispersion. Again, the first thing we have to do is figure out, are the data sets symmetric or skewed? So we have to look at this one kind of sideways a little bit. And I'm going to look at this 10 a.m. class, and you see that it goes up but really doesn't come back down. This data is skewed. And this one over here, if you kind of look at it, it looks kind of symmetric. It looks a little skewed. The good news is it doesn't matter, because as long as one of the data sets is skewed, both data sets would be considered skewed. So that means we know what we're going to use. For this one, we're going to do the 10 a.m. class and the 8 p.m. class. And for skewed data, we always use the median. For the measure of center, and the IQR for the measure of dispersion. And I'd like you to pause the video and find those numbers, the median and the IQR. Again, you're going to list them all out and going to have to find them just like you would for a box and whisker plot. So go ahead and pause it and we'll see how you did. All right, let's see how you did. The median for the 10 a.m. class was 53, and the interquartile range was 17. And this is my work here for the 10 a.m. class. For the 8 p.m. class, the median was 29, and the IQR was, I didn't actually do that. The IQR is 12. And again, my work for that is down here. All right, pause the video one last time and see if you can write your sentences. All right, here are my sentences. The median age of the 10 a.m. class is more than the 8 p.m. class. Again, make sure you have median there. And the ages of the 10 a.m. class varies more than the 8 p.m. class. All right, that's it for today. Go ahead and work on your assignment, and you'll hear from me tomorrow. Have a great day.